So let's start with reactjs.org. Reactjs.org is the official React page where you can read all the documentation. And I will also be using Visual Studio Code as my text editor. You will also need to have Node.js installed on your computer, so we can use Node and npm to develop our application. So after the Node is installed on my computer, I can type node -v to get my Node version. It does not really matter if I have 10 and you have the version 12. It does not really contain that much difference between those two Node versions. And I can also type npm -v to get my npm version. As I said again, it does not really matter if we have a discrepancy here in the Node version. So let's get back to our reactjs.org, and we can read about React here, but I will be using the create a new React page from reactjs.org where I can learn about create React app. Create React app is a command line interface that we will be using in order to create our app. We need to install it first, so npm e or npm install -g, we will install it globally. And because I installed it already, I don't need to relaunch my command prompt. But if you are installing it for the first time, you need to relaunch that terminal after the installation in order to type create React app in your console and use this because it's a command line interface. And then I can type the name of the application that I want to create. This name is just a folder and the general name of our application. Then create React app fires and creates the application for us. After the application is created, we can navigate to our folder and I will launch my Visual Studio Code there and we will start from here. So as you can see, we already have a lot of files in this folder. First thing first, we always need to check our package.json. With every front-end project, always look into package.json so you have the information about the project. We already see here what scripts we have available and what dependencies are installed. So we have build script, test script, eject script, and by looking inside package.json we already know that we can use those scripts. Create React app also installed a few dependencies in our Node modules folder, like React, React DOM, React scripts. And those three dependencies right here, we don't really need them, it's just for testing. But right now we can test some available scripts. When running an npm script, it's really important to remember one thing. You always need to type run before you run any of scripts available in package.json. The exception is the start script and the test script, because those two scripts are the exception and you can just type npm start or npm test. Usually with all scripts you need to type run first. So if for example you want to build it, you need to type npm run build in order for it to work. So let's type our start script and fire up our developer server. As we can see, our server is up. It's the React application that we get right off the box. And what you see on the screen comes from this file right here, app.js, where we have some HTML that you see here on the screen. We have some text and we have some text here, HTML, tags, HTML form, and we have this big logo right here where right here you can see we include image and we also include CSS, and the logo is spinning because we have here keyframes. And the CSS is also included in our app.js file. The React application, however, does not start in app.js. We can go one step deeper into index.js. First, let's ignore this service worker line. The line that we need to pay attention to is this React DOM.render, where we include the React application that we see using this syntax. We import it and then we have our app right here. We can include our own HTML here and we will write test. Let's see, and we have test rendered. We can also include our app component differently like that and it will be just the same. This syntax right here is just a shorthand. Now to the right we see some JavaScript functions and we see that it tries to get some HTML element by its ID, by the ID root. Well, the next question is, where is this root coming from? If we open public folder, inside there we can find index.html. Every time we go to some web page, the first thing we get is this index.html. And with React application, it's the same thing. We always get index.html first when we go to React website. Index.html is just basic HTML with some meta tags. What is really important for us is this div right here with the ID of root. Inside this div, the whole React application happens. React tries to copy-paste its HTML content inside of this div. As you can see here, we try to access this div right here by ID, and if we change the ID from R to B and save it, we get an error because React cannot find its hooking point. React tries to hook to this div. If we change our ID here, React finds it again and it works fine. So let's change it back. We can also try and include our own elements. For example, let's include this div right here. However, it would not work. As you see, I get some squiggly lines, I get some syntax error because React only expects one thing, and what we have here is two different things. What we can do is wrap our two elements inside of one additional div, like this, and let's just format it. And as you can see here inside of our HTML, we get the div and two additional div that we have inside our own div. So why does React accept only one div? Well, because React is a tree and it has this kind of form where it renders only one thing at a time. You might say, well, I don't want to clutter my application with additional divs. There is a solution for you. It's called React Fragment. You can use React Fragment to wrap your HTML elements inside of it. Let's do that here, and as you can see in our HTML, what we get in the end is only our two div. React Fragment is no longer found here. Because React Fragment is just for convenience sake, it allows us to easily wrap our elements inside of it. We don't really want to mess with index.js nor with index.html. We can change our title here. Let's do that. We can change our title to something else. But in reality, our starting point is inside of app.js, where we can start our development. Let's delete the HTML that we have here so we can start with a blank slate. As you can see, it renders just fine. Let's delete the import that we are not using, and let's start from here.